Understand what's going. Would you like me to share my screen?
You can try on it.
Okay. Host disabled participant screen share.
Is it unmuted? It is.
Well, I'll continue. If we'll get there, let me know if something changes, but the plan sheet that you see in front of you comes from the plans. I did want to highlight, there's two components here, right where that Apple Creek Road is. So north is on the left, south is on the right. That's the HDP pipe that was under the roadway. There's also that little long slope in the creek that is marked according to this assumption agreement. So we also have some added risk in the contractor to use everything else together going north of this too. So it's all out there. And I wanted to share that with you. The last part that we talked about a lot is the ordinance on the next page is what is Bismarck's ordinance say on connections? What is Lincoln's ordinance saying? And honestly, they mirror each other. And that's great because as communities, we're close to each other. That way, businesses, contractors, whoever's coming in here, residents, it's not like one is completely different from the other. Having that similarity certainly can help with people and issues that we can help each other. And so I put that in here just so you can see our wording in your wording and what we talk about with connections. So what the assumption agreement and this amendment are to define is in 2 pages. It shows who owns what valve, and I do have a mistake made on your handout. The T is not the point of connection, the 12-inch valve south of that T that Lincoln owns is what we're defining as the point of connection. So that is what we're clarifying. If you look in then that amendment, it says from the valve south is owned and operated then by Lincoln. From that south valve to the north will be owned and operated in business. At the same time, Lincoln staff, and I think this is a great thing, said, can we clarify the other connection? Lincoln has another connection at Lincoln Road in Yagan. And we said this would be great to just have this clearly defined. And so what we did was we looked at all the plans to highlight a little bit. There is a 24 by 24 cross that Bismarck installed. And then there's a 12-inch gate valve right off of that cross. And there's plans associated with that we could put in when they first established this. And we would say that 12-inch valve is that point of connection. So I highlighted those. There has been a lot of working back and forth with this contract even today. The attorney is going back, but I think we have a good one. I'm not sure what's been presented to you and what you've seen in that. There are a few extra things that Bismarck and Lincoln talked about to say, hey, how can we be there for each other? And we've heard this word like brother. And I said, no, we want to be neighbors. We want to be the neighbor that says, hey, I need a cup of flour, or your tree's hanging over in this. Can you help cut it down? And so we want to be neighbors. And what we know is here is, we have experience working on these valves. I mean, you guys have experience as well. But sometimes we might have a little bit better, bigger equipment, and that might be needed. And we're here to help and support you. We've done it in the past, and we want to continue. And this really helps to highlight that support that we have for you. One thing that got brought up is we call it exercising a valve. It's where you close it and open it just to make sure the functionality is there. Doing that yearly really makes sure that valve can last longer. We'd certainly do that in conjunction with your staff and your team here, just to make sure that we're not closing the valve if you have another one closed or anything, lose water. But that way we can make sure that this valve works together. The last part here says if we may have projects next to this valve that is a point of connection, and what we've done in the past is if our project is for some reason touching that valve or the pipe or whatever adjacent to that, that is our cost then to replace that valve. Because our project is in there and you might need to remove it for whatever reason. I don't foresee that happening, but it's good to just have that defined right now. And so that's kind of where the cities have worked together to discuss and come to this point. Mayor, you asked me to come in and to speak here tonight, and we should have done this a long time. But thank you for making that suggestion and getting us here. And hopefully the next time we'll move that forward by a few months and just get in front of all of this. So I would gladly stand here and take any questions if you have them, or if any items you have.
Discussion? Have any questions? Jenny Rocket, do you have anything that you would like to add?
I don't really have anything to add. I think that there are two things. I mean, the underlying dispute when Lincoln's line leaked was the interpretation of the water sales agreement. So that agreement does not accurately or adequately really define the point of connection. And then it uses also other terms in that agreement, points of delivery. And so it's confusing and it talks about a metered connection as to where the city of Bismarck's responsibility started and stopped. I understand that there's a history here of what the parties had discussed when that second line was being built, but we don't have any real clear documentation of what the actual agreement was, right? So how the genesis of this was the city of Lincoln initially had asked the city of Bismarck to cost share that cost of repair based on the ambiguity in the sales agreement. And then ultimately, I think around the end of the year, after a meeting with the city of Bismarck staff and some members of their commission, the council's direction was not to seek a cost share, but to figure out where the point of connection was. And I think our first offer to Bismarck was we thought that connection point should be closer to the meter. And then ultimately we've arrived at the connection point that has been agreed upon now. And I think the last issue that needed to be negotiated was the actual ownership of the valve, right? Because the way that the last proposed agreement before we got here, it had the connection point. Bismarck's responsibility was on one side and Lincoln's was on the other, but it didn't define who would be responsible if that break was right at that valve. And my understanding then is that there was a meeting last week, I believe, between members of Lincoln and the city. When was it this week? This week.
Oh, gosh.
It's been a long week.
A long week.
So, and my understanding is from that, there was an agreement reached with the terms, and I think Mr. Mart, maybe you were the one who put together like a term sheet. And then the lawyers have turned that now into an addendum to the sales agreement. And I think that we submitted our version of that to your attorney, the city attorney of Bismarck. She's had a couple of changes which were acceptable to us. So I think what the council has before it is an addendum to the water sales agreement, which removes the ambiguity in that document as to where the responsibility lies. The other agreement that the city has in front of it, which has been less controversial, is the water assumption agreement, which has to do with the fact that when this water line was put in place, some of the water line crosses private property. It's not within public right of way. And so the city of Lincoln went out and obtained easements from the property owners. And I pulled those easements and looked at them. And those easements all anticipated that at some point the easements would be transferred to the city of Bismarck. And so the property owners all had given consent to that. And so what the water assumption agreement is an agreement between Bismarck and Lincoln, where Lincoln is basically assigning its rights under those easements to the city of Bismarck. And the only change that I asked in that was I wanted the city of Bismarck to defend and indemnify Lincoln in the event that there's some issue with that water line going forward. Let's say it leaks and causes damage on a private property owner. technically that easement is ours. And we've assigned it, and so we could be brought into some kind of litigation, and Bismarck agreed that they would do that, they would indemnify us and take responsibility. And I think the only other change was Bismarck wanted to know whether we were aware of any claims or problems with those easements, and we're not. So the water assumption agreement always been done for a little bit longer than the addendum, but my recommendation is that both of those are ready to be adopted by the city based on the discussions that occurred on Monday.
All right, and council, what are your wishes?
I would like to make a motion to approve the addendum to the water service contract with the city of Bismarck and the city of Lincoln as presented.
We have a first by Councilman Bjornstedt, is there a second?
Sorry.
Second by Councilman Petrie. If we could, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We could get the roll call, please. Octavia. Yes. Berenson.
Yes.
Davis. Yes. Petrie.
Yes.
Thank you very much, and your meeting is on Tuesday. Oh, we
have
have
one
the
more.
assumption. Sorry.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to approve the water main valve and hydrant assumption agreement as presented.
First by Councilman Bjornstedt, second.
1 second.
Second by Councilman Petrie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any discussion? I think we could do the roll call, please.
Octavia.
Yes.
Berenson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Petrie.
Yes.
All right. So,
Mayor, this is on our commission meeting on Tuesday. So we can get signed and information from everybody. Get you a copy back to you.
all right, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Next on the agenda is item H, which is the Economic Development Ordinance 2026-04, the second reading.
Before you is that second reading of the 2026-04 amendment to the ordinance for the EDC, clarifying the ex officio members. This is that second reading.
Council, have you had the opportunity to read and comments, questions? All right, what are your wishes?
Make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 2026-04.
First by Councilman Bjornstedt, is there a second? I'll second. Second by Councilwoman Davis. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And if we could get the roll call, please.
Octavia.
Yes.
Berenson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Petrie.
Yes.
All right, next we'll carry on with the portfolio assignment. Framework. And this is what I would, I have put together as final draft. It did not receive additional recommendations or comments. So I would ask to approve the portfolio and project assignment framework as presented, unless there are comments or recommendations that table tonight.
I think the only thing I would have would be if we're kind of getting away from the portfolio aspect of it, would there be better term used for the document? I don't know, it'd really be necessary, it's kind of a minute thing.
The portfolios are still the items that we're,
So there
It's
would
just
still
the department.
technically be
they're still portfolios, it just wouldn't be department assignments. It would be task assignments.
I'll make a motion to approve the council portfolio and project assignment framework.
We have a first by Councilwoman Davis, is there a second?
Do you have any discussion?
Yeah, I think there's a couple questions I have with it. This isn't to, I don't know, I'm just gonna speak freely, I guess. So under the operational authority remains with the mayor, city admin, and the Department of Leadership. I'm assuming that's kind of how it is today. I guess my concern would be there's some boundaries in here that, and I agree that the council shouldn't be running the day-to-day stuff. But also the council represents the citizens. So I am a little concerned about not having some, even just 49% say on what's going on in portfolios as on, like, speaking to operations.
I would agree with that statement. There should be some more transparency.
Did you read? Where are you in?
Which secondary,
Page 35,
Administrative and operational
yeah.
boundaries, right?
yes. Again, I don't think the council should be calling the shots on the day-to-day operational thing, but I do think that there's probably needs to be some kind of allowance for slight voter say on a day-to-day basis, just because. You know what I mean?
That specifically was not one council member supervises or takes ownership of any department. They're the liaison. It could be worded differently, absolutely. But any decisions within those portfolios, the departments are a council directive, not with the exception of the procurement at that 10,000 mark. So
yes.
that, right, and that's part of the ordinance. But if you have different verbiage and everybody would like to, but that was the intent behind it, not that council doesn't have say, but they don't have final say. It brings it back to council rather than making us decisions.
And I definitely agree, we should be up to date on what's happening within the departments and what's going on. Like I stated last meeting, do we have to be judge and executioner? Absolutely not. But it ultimately does come down to the council decision on a lot of things that get passed in the city, so we should know what's going on.
I mean, I think from like my point of view is like, say we think, I can't even think of an example, but say there's some issue with a road or a safety hazard. I think that there needs to be some kind of leeway there for that portfolio holder to be able to get a hold of Director of Public Works and City Administrator to kind of help direct that immediate repair if there's some urgency there. I think there's some gray area there, but might have to defer to legal counsel here for verbiage, I guess.
Or the contact to the administrator for her to direct. I guess I think that, sorry. go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, members of the council. So I think from a legal standpoint that the law does not really authorize individual council members to take action, official action on behalf of the city. The law allows the mayor as the executive officer of the city, gives the mayor a little bit more power and authority on a kind of similar to what a CEO would have in the corporation. But the members of the council certainly have the ability to be involved and to be informed, have access to information, have access to the city employees and ask for information within some reason. But I've not overviewed this, but the idea behind it that individual members of the council on their own authority do not have the ability to direct staff, make administrative decisions, to bind the city in contracts, and only have a limited ability to approve a decision made by a department head within the procurement policy, right? So it's not that a council member has the ability to approve procurement. They have the ability to review a decision that was made by a department head and kind of sign off on that decision. So I kind of agree with what you're saying, that there's some gray area there, but there's not an individual council member doesn't have any authority to take any independent action. You only have action as a council.
Yeah, I definitely don't want. I don't want the authority individualistically. I don't know. The way it reads makes me feel a little weird.
You have different verbiage
I don't, unfortunately, I don't have a way of phrasing it, it just caught my eye. Do we table it?
Well. So can you say the bullet point, because maybe we can do this. The specific bullet point itself.
Is it the direct employees or contractors or would, yeah, which, is there a specific line in there that?
Again, I think that perhaps there needs to be a line elsewhere that it just. I don't think the council, again, I don't think the council needs to be involved on a day-to-day basis, but I think there needs to be some kind of. I don't know what I'm trying to say, so.
Well, and this is more procedure, setting up the framework for how the portfolios are gonna work, but it is a living document. It's not like we're putting into ordinance.
Okay.
So if, I mean, whatever council looks to tonight, passing it, putting it into effect at the reorganization meeting, or putting it into effect today, but assigning those at the reorganization meeting that first week of July. See how it goes, see how that works out. We can do that,
It's be modified.
modified at any time. Like I said, this isn't an ordinance, it's not a resolution, it's strictly guidelines to navigate the portfolio assignments of what they have look like.
Councilmember Alvitri, if you would be open and if the rest of council would be open to looking into the verbiage in that area to help you feel like you can clarify more of what it is that you're seeing, and I would be willing to work with you and any other council members on that language. So that we could come back at the next meeting.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, we could table it, we can work on it.
That motion?
Yes, I would make a motion to table I'm not looking at it. The portfolio assignments and sign this too. Project assignment framework.
Would it be possible for us to continue with the portfolio assignments this evening, but to work on the language and come back with that portion at the next meeting?
The assignments would be after at the reorganization meeting. That's why this has been sent out.
I think what I'm concerned with is there was a lot of conversation about projects being assigned versus like portfolios. And I think what might happen is if one person's not wholly holding a portfolio and you have a project, are we going to be held responsible for something else going wrong in the portfolio, but we're not working on a portfolio, we're working on a project? You know, I don't know, there's a lot of gray area with that.
And I think a lot of the work that's been going on for the last, say, 6 months, 8 months, is getting away from council and myself being part of the day-to-day operations and navigating that more towards the city administrator role, which is then what her responsibilities would be. The oversighting of the projects would be us, staff. Those responsibilities would fall on the administrator. And what has happened in the past is one person, one department, nobody else becomes aware of what's going on. And that has caused the issue. And if you're looking at, I mean, and with the makeup of the assignment framework, you may be working with multiple people, but I think that's a good thing because you have more people learning and being active. But again, I think the whole reason behind it is to keep this on the policy side and that the actual follow through of that with the administrator and her department heads. But again, it's. If the verbiage is different, recommendations could come back, but I would hope that this is. A couple months now, it would be nice to have it finished so we can put it into effect. So if there's a possibility of somebody providing the verbiage,
I guess if it's a living document and we're able to augment it in the future, I would be pacified by that.
and okay. So
Do you want to
what are the wishes?
strike your table?
I'll bring the table and I'll defer to the rest of the council.
Do you want to, would there be any issue setting a motion to approve it as is effective at the next meeting when the assignments are made? That gives a chance for any council members to review again, see if there's something we would like to modify before it actually goes into effect.
And we can adopt it tonight. And make any changements or changes to it, because I don't think we have to have any official motions or anything like that to be changed to it. So if that's. I think. The most important thing to me is that the portfolios, the assignments, not the verbiage necessarily, because that obviously changes. The portfolios, the makeup of it, and what those could look like. Because even those, with the bullet points that are underneath them, those are gonna change. Some will apply, some won't, some things. Might be part of a project that aren't on here, we're gonna have to change it. So I suspect there's gonna be a lot of changes here within here. Just to see how this all works together, so. I would like, if we could tonight. So we can make the decisions and think about the portfolios. That you would be like to be assigned, that if we could verify those, the verbiage for the rest of it would change. Absolutely at the next meeting, but I would like to see if this aligns with what council. Is seeing those portfolios. And if we haven't looked at it. We can do it at the next meeting. But I have had some interest in a couple of the portfolios, so that was nice to receive.
I guess I would make a motion to approve the council portfolio and project assignment framework as presented.
I'll second that motion.
We have a first by Councilman Bjornsted, second by Councilwoman Davis. All in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed? Further discussion? And so move, and then so on that meeting on that first. It's not it's just
You
a,
need a roll call.
okay.
Octavia? I was under the impression that we didn't need a roll call.
Anything the council does needs a roll call vote.
Okay, yes. Aaronson,
Yes.
Davis,
no,
Albitri,
No.
Well, then I'm gonna say no too, because then I would prefer everybody to agree on it. If you would, please. On to the next meeting. With verbiage. And any changes that you'd like, so we can get this off the agenda. And next we have engineer update.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Before you this evening, I have some project updates, even additional from what was contained in the memo in your packets. With regards to the wastewater treatment facility, there's no action required this evening. This is just a project update. As a reminder, we continue to work on this new wastewater treatment facility, and the project is now at the 60% design phase. Current status: over the last few weeks, the design team has presented and reviewed the full 60% design with city staff. They will be presenting that with city staff. All major components have now been reviewed at least once, and there have been several areas with multiple items, and we keep tweaking those. The team is finalizing revisions from the last review and will issue the 60% plans directly, hopefully in the next few weeks. That package will include all the major buildings, all the process areas, along with a preliminary layout for the cake storage area that was added at our last meeting. With regards to geotechnical work, staff with Apex is still coordinating with Terracon and working on options to get access to the site, along with finding the right material and getting it placed so that their drilling equipment can get out and be supported in the areas where those soil borings need to happen. This item's becoming critical as we need to get those in place for final structural design. With regard to design process, building layouts and the major process systems are now generally aligned with the city input. Current work is focused on tightening up the layouts, reducing building size where possible. All those items are to help cost control. Equipment manufacturers are preparing final drawings, technical details, and some design elements are waiting on that information so that we can get that into those plans. Updated flow data has been provided to the design team to support final system sizing and performance. I don't believe there's much updates regarding funding coordination. The schedule has not changed, and the project remains on track for the state submittal letter this summer and bidding this fall. Overall, the wastewater project remains on schedule and moving forward as expected. Staff will continue taking part in refining the design, and we'll work towards related ordinances for future council action that come along with this change in process. Any questions regarding the wastewater treatment facility update?
I do,
Yeah.
maybe not, sorry. And this is more of a procedural. Do we have a construction engineer for this at this point? Was that built into the plans that have already been approved, or do we bring that out for, in engineering terms, is it an RFP for the construction part of it?
Typically, there is not a constructioneer at this phase. Once the project is to the point where they're bidding it out this fall, that is the same timeline when a construction engineer would likely be hired, and you can hire the engineer that designed it, or you can go out for RFP.
So it is an
So that-
option, we're not bound by something or a process that the council has already entered into.
I don't believe so. I can double check what the contract states, but I don't believe construction engineering was part of that contract. Usually it's an additional task order that they'll add if you want to continue using that engineer. If you decide you want to change it up and go out for RFP, then we just need to make sure that we are on the proper timeline so that we can have that contracted engineer in place at the same time that the project, the construction is happening when that bid is awarded.
And what does that timeline look like if we have bid opening in October?
I don't know all the details with that type of work, if they can do anything over the winter. It's something we sure can work through with Apex. And as the design gets closer to that final draft, we'll be able to nail down what they anticipate for a start. I don't believe they're anticipating to start until next spring, but those are all things that we can look at when we're putting the project out to bid, so that we can align those dates. If they're allowing a construction company to do some preliminary work during the winter, sometimes we get some really nice days out there. Maybe it's the ground is frozen and it makes things easier to access in that site. They might want to get out there before spring. And so those are a good question for. Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa, go ahead.
Okay, I'm trying to talk over you like normal. Sorry. I did die again, didn't I? She may not be able to hear me well.
I'm not hearing you. Can you speak up a little
Yeah,
more?
I just started talking back into the mic.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yes, so if there might be some construction items that can happen on nicer days, like we did have a really big spring. So what I'm looking for then is, should we have that timeline moved up then if we want to do a construction RFP? If we are actually anticipating, if there's nice days, we might start. I just don't want to get behind the timeline when
I
we are
think,
early enough now to get in front of it.
yes, I agree with you. If you're looking at going that route, that RFP route, I would say that that's a conversation we can have with Apex at the next project meeting as to when they anticipate construction starting and could a contractor potentially do work in the winter. And when we get that answer, then we'll be able to effectively create our own schedule for how that RFP timeline looks and when we need to get that out, allowing us enough time to get somebody on board.
Do you have any other questions to follow up with that, council?
We have, if you would come up to that podium, please.
I'm Brandon Schick here.
Use the mic.
I think I am.
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah, I am.
It's not on. Thank you.
Jeez. The batteries, I think.
Anyways, I'll just talk loud. I think you guys should do that because, a lot of times you can do a lot of dirt work in the winter. We move dirt till January, February sometimes, so it wouldn't be a bad thing to get them going,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Also depends on the weather though.
It does, and. Turn off.
I just know that, a lot of times a lot of the dirt work can be done in the winter.
So our meetings happen every 2 weeks, and would it be a council consensus that I can ask for direction on how this process works? Or would you like to think more about it and I'll bring it up again at the next meeting to know what your wishes are?
I think you should get more information for sure.
Before the timeline or for the next council meeting? Okay.
Yeah, I would agree. I would think that at the next update next week, if this question could be asked, just so we know, and anything we can do to bump up the timeline, I think would be good.
I agree. If we're going to do a construction engineering RFP, I would like to be ahead of it, not behind it.
Especially to get it out here too for sometimes.
Okay, so it is the consensus to start asking the questions.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions on the wastewater treatment facility? Otherwise, I have one other update for you.
Thank you. No other questions.
Thank you. The other item I just wanted to touch on was the fireworks ordinance. This is something that has been updated, has gone through your approval, but I just wanted to give a little history because we've had some questions and discussion about setting up with firework stands. Our primary focus when we were looking at that was to look at refining setback requirements within the city. Those revisions were developed using a combination of information from other communities, industrial guidance like the International Fire Code, and then guidance and input from Rural Fire. Rural Fire's input was especially important with the setbacks and their input towards like a real fire risk condition and from a practical responder standpoint. So that is the application that we move forward on with, and we were looking at these revisions with setbacks for the fireworks ordinance. It has been a while since we've gone through that, and staff and I have talked about it a little bit. So I don't know if there's any questions that council would have that I could help with, or maybe staff could help with regards to this. If you've gotten questions or have concerns, we thought that it would be nice to bring this up and give you a chance to ask those questions.
Ms. Marshak, would you
Yes.
be able to stay on for further questions? It is 2 more items down the agenda. We will be addressing this.
Yes.
Okay.
I had planned to attend the whole meeting, so if questions come up, I'm here to answer those.
Thank you.
Say, Loretta.
Anything else?
Yeah, with that, you said, what were the 3 initials that you said? For the fire, that changed the rules to make this get changed?
Oh, it was the International Fire Code
So when was that changed or updated?
Oh, great question. Give me just a second and I can tell you.
It was 2024.
So if it was updated in 2024, how come the fire chief then didn't state that those regulations needed to be made, because these stands have been out every year?
I don't think it, I want to say that we did revisions in 25.
Mhm.
Was it?
Work had been started back in 25.
It was talked about, but nothing was changed. Those are my only questions. I wanted to know when the IFC changed, because these fireworks stands have been operating in the same manner for decades for many of them. And if those rules or regulations changed, I'm extremely surprised that we didn't change them right away like we should have. But now it's important, so.
I can help with getting I can take a look and see what those dates were. I know it had been something that had been worked on prior to my coming to the city, and that was something that was on the task list to work on. So I can get you exact dates of when those were brought forward and when they were brought to council for approval, if that would be helpful.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
thank you.
And Administrator Ani, you looked as if you were going to say something.
I'm struggling with this, so I either hitting myself or I can't speak into it. The international code is updated every 2 years, and the last update was 2024. 2026 was not completed by the time we were actually doing the meetings to update. But the work did start in 25. And there was reasons why it took so long to get to the council, but maybe Brian can help allude to that after can we get down the agenda to that point?
Okay, thank you. Before we get too much further, our council member elect, Brendan Schick, before you leave this evening, because we don't have your email, I guess, I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think
Get
you
a
gave me
copy.
an email, right?
Okay, I will email you a copy of this so you can get prepared for it.
Thanks.
Thank you. We will continue on with agenda item K, Tia and Brian Mozart, R5.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Thanks for letting me come up and speak again. Speaking on behalf of Tia and Nathan on R5 at 282 Partridge, but I'm really talking about the whole Apple mobile home community. Well, yeah. Old hat, right? Last 2 weeks ago, the attorney said that the trailer park is out of. It was out of, what was your verbiage? A non-conforming.
Yeah, I think the concern is that,
We need to do some of that, Mike. It's just, it needs some.
Here's a couple of.
We have that.
She's got batteries, but the batteries with this.
Well, it was non-conforming at any rate.
well, no, I think we should be clear about this, right? So the issue is that the trailer park is zoned R5. And R5 has, as it relates to what you're requesting, has specific setback and lot sizes. And I don't know if we've made progress on it this week, but the city does not have, or at least hasn't had, an accurate survey or plat of the trailer park, so that when people are making requests, the city's not in a position. One of the issues with your application, as I understand it, the city is not in a position to figure out where you want to site your building and whether siting your building in that spot will meet the R5 zoning for the lots. So that's one of the issues that is with your particular application. So I want to be clear, I don't know that we know whether or not the trailer park is within R5 zoning. And I think where we are right now is we want to, and I think we've, yeah, and I'll actually let the city administrator speak to this, right? But we need to have conversations with the owner of the trailer park and the manager of the trailer park so that we can determine whether our R5 zoning is being complied with. And then once we get that far, we can determine what to do on a going forward basis.
This is the group of people that have control over what R5 zoning says though, correct? I mean, that.
Correct, but in layman's terms is there are several many lots over there, correct? The lines are. We have certain parameters where a double wide can be, where a single wide can be, what size the shops can be on there. But if we don't know what those lines are, we can't make those decisions because we need the plat. Right now, alls we have is block 1, lot 1. The whole thing is one big lot where there's things moving in and out all over the place. And then when it was annexed in, it was annexed in at the R5, which does give that parameter of what size the lots have to be. So when things are being moved in, we have to have a certain setback, we have to have certain square footage. A shop of 600 feet has to have certain, you've read that, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
But we don't know where those lines are. We just don't know. So how can the council make an educated decision or a legally standing decision for their zoning if they don't have a plat in there? They just don't have it,
correct.
nor has it been supplied.
Michelle told me she brought the plat from Bartlett and West. Is what she told me yesterday.
I think that I have seen something from Bartlett and West, but it's not, we have not had enough time. I mean, that was yesterday, I believe.
As much as anything, I'm willing to help. I'm not here to holler.
No, and I think the other issue for you is, for your daughter is, my understanding is the building that you want to build is larger than the R5 zoning will allow.
Right.
So we have some structural issues with the trailer park as a whole. And then there's some issues about how those applications need to be signed by the property owner, or how we're gonna work our way through that, because the tenants who are asking aren't the owners of the property. And then I guess finally for you, as I understand it, another issue is that you're asking to build something that is not allowed by the zoning. And so if what your intent is to change the zoning, you're right, the council does have the ability to initiate an R5 zoning change. It would require, sometimes those go to planning and zoning, sometimes they are initiated
To
by
public hearings.
by the council, right? There's a specific set of requirements that would be required to mark up what that change would look like. And the only other thing about trailer parks is there are some state statutory regulations. I don't think they govern the size, but there are some state statutory safety regulations on lot sizes and some other things that we'd also have to take a look at. But yeah, that's where we the basic part of this is, I don't think the city has ever established a baseline with the trailer park owner since it was annexed into the city, and that's what we're trying to get ahead of now. We're like, okay, now we need to catch up with this. We need to understand what the interior of your park looks like. Are you in compliance with R5 zoning? If you're not, what are we going to do about that? Are we gonna change zoning? Are we gonna work with you over time to get the zoning updated? So there's some steps that we're starting to work our way through. And we are working on it. So I know that you were in 2 weeks ago. We've had several meetings about it, and I know the city administrators communicated with the trailer park. We are moving it forward. So there is action that's happening. It might not be happening as quickly as you'd like, but we are trying to figure out how to get this moved forward.
Yes, and I'm here to say I'll help the council any way I can, help you any way I can. I took the liberty to speak to the rural fire chief, Dustin. He said as long as setbacks are followed, he doesn't have a problem with it. And then he said, good luck. I don't know if he said good luck or good luck.
Yeah, probably good luck.
At any rate, I'm willing to help, and like I said before, I don't just want a variance for them too. They're not special. I just think it's everything about it's dated, right? I'm assuming that stuff was written probably in 79, 600 square feet. Things have changed. People have more stuff, and it's just nice to have your stuff inside.
Well, and if the trailer court is right out of compliance, right? The only way I see the city to rectify that, right, in good standards with everybody without having to tell people, hey, whatever you got is not compliance, gotta tear it down, would be to change the R5 zoning of the Trilly Court.
That would make the most sense.
You would think.
But, I mean, I'm gonna be at these meetings anyways. I'm on the board of supervisors for Apple Creek Township. We're neighbors, right? So I wanna see what's going on here anyways, so I'm gonna come to these meetings anyways. You're gonna see me for at least the next 3 years. And I will, but at any rate, I'm not hollering, I come across gruff kind of, but I wanna help. I wanna help you, I wanna help them.
Trust me, that's nothing. We've heard worse.
Yeah, and I'm not mad, I understand how it works, right? It doesn't happen overnight. But sometimes you guys are busy and you just need someone to do a little bit of legwork. Or find a little bit of information.
Well,
And
I've
I've
been
been-
on it forward, because we didn't really know.
And I have been in the office and they've been working on it.
Yeah, that's awesome, moving forward is all anybody asks. But, not only me, there's other people over there wanting to do the same thing.
Well, that's just like with any ordinance, right, the city has, I mean. You look at a plethora of ordinances that we got, half the town is in compliant, half the town is not, so what do, right? The best way to help everybody is to change some things to where it all coalesces together, and so saying, hey, you have to now take all this after,
Yeah,
which is.
And we will review ordinances and the administrators working on that as well as the attorney.
Yeah, I would just say that. I would just say that just to be clear, it's not a variance that you need, right?
If I have to go down that road to get a variance, then I maybe have to do that with planning and zoning.
Right,
But I wanna do it for everybody, not just for them two.
right, but
Yes,
what
it's
I'm trying to,
helpful for
what I'm trying to tell you is that. The city doesn't have the legal authority to give you a variance to violate the zoning code.
I don't want to.
Okay, right, so what you want.
I never asked for it.
Okay, well, you used the word variance, so that's why I'm telling you, what you would need to build the larger shop is an amendment to the R5 zoning, which is something different than.
Absolutely. Absolutely, that's, what I said, quite the good point, in meetings past or whatever, I wanna do it for everybody. So that whole place looks nicer.
Yeah.
If, it's a mess, but if people could have nice garages, the ones that can afford it, I think they would do that. And that would clean that up a lot over there. If there wasn't all this stuff laying around and barbecue grills in the yard and people wouldn't have to put 5 sheds in their yard. I think it could be better.
Well, and I think we'll continue to work on that.
Yeah, awesome.
Updates.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Keep it up, Ryan.
And Councilwoman Davis, next is your memory fireworks.
Yes, we have memory fireworks here, if you guys wanna come up to the podium. Oops.
Hey, good evening, Mayor Bergman, council members, thanks for the opportunity. My name is Chase Downhauer, along with me today, I have Shannon Wilson.
Yeah, I'm Shannon Hansen.
So obviously you heard a little bit, with the engineer discussion, but we're here, I guess, really requesting an exception to ordinance number 2026 3-05-04. Regarding site and setbacks. It's an ordinance regulating the sale and distribution of fireworks within city limits of Lincoln. Specifically as it pertains to the 300-foot setback from property line to property line. We previously, for the last 20 years, have obtained a permit right over by the Tumbleweed on the north side of the building along Lincoln Road. And ultimately, what we're here today is to request an exception, although we respect the ordinance and the safety intent behind the setbacks. Requesting that exception, we're under the condition that we work closely with the local fire department to set up the temporary semi-trailers to where we will sell and distribute those fireworks.
And then will you have, fire extinguishers as well?
Yes, we'll ensure that we comply with all of the remaining items within that ordinance.
And you said, did you say multiple, semi-trailers or just one?
So there'll be two back-to-back to what we'll actually be selling, and then a third that is closed for storage that we'll bring over to where we're selling and just distributing.
If we do not light any fireworks at this location, it is for sale only. So I don't know if that was misunderstood in some of those safety precautions. I turned in my application end of May, like I do every year for the last 20 years. And then I received notice on June 9th, that the fireworks permit was denied. And so I was pretty shocked, I guess. I didn't know there was an ordinance. I wasn't informed as a business owner. Working in Lincoln is one of our locations for the last how many years. So I was just surprised by that. I wasn't aware of any ordinance change.
Do you have anything that you would like to share for rural fire?
Unless the council has any questions.
Oh, they just said that they had worked with rural fire, and I'm assuming more so Dustin Fire, or Chief Fire.
Yeah, I've been in contact. They called me because I believe my email was on that. Just a quick history.
Could you come to the council?
Sure. Sorry.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Brian Ranky, I'm the assistant chief for the Bismarck Fire Department. Just a brief history. So the current fire code that we enforce is the International Fire Code 2021 version. The 2024 version will be adopted by the state in July. So it's coming up very quickly. The fire code itself is very vague when it comes to specific requirements for temporary fireworks stands. NFPA 1124 has the detailed standards that were in the ordinance. That was, I believe that was mostly the reference material that we used, that you folks used to finalize your ordinance. So we don't, as a fire department, we are responsible to enforce the fire code, but the state, the Rural Fire Protection District does not use the NFPA as an inspection standard. So as far as their fireworks stand goes, yes, it is clear. It's less than 300 feet from the church. Whether you decide to offer a variance or stay with the plan and deny the permit, we will certainly honor either of those.
So, there's their stand, right, in Tumbleweed parking lot. Okay, and then there would be another stand, by the child daycare. Usually on the corner there in the grass field. And then we have another one, what was it, in Crystals, I think, last year? Was one right around there, so.
Chief Fire did the inspections last year. I was out of town during that time.
Right,
so I'm not sure.
exactly. So if those are accepted and they can still be here this year with a little bit different
Except for the time in
regulations.
place last year, your new permit was not in place last year. And we don't, the form that we use, like, for instance, when I inspect with the county, the form I used doesn't have any of those setbacks on there. I simply check for fire extinguishers, proper signage, no smoking, no,
Right.
and aisle width and things like that.
So if those other permits, right, were then approved, how come theirs was denied? Cause they're within.
Red, white,
reality
and-
of the
red,
state.
yes, Red, White and Boom did move. They are not near they were required to move as well. So they did conform to the ordinance.
And I recall that one, the only other permits I've seen were from memory and then,
Fantasy.
Fantasy. And I believe Fantasy also.
I don't recall if they had to move or not.
Yeah, I don't recall.
So I mean, when we have businesses come out here, right, we want businesses out here, right? So now we're literally taking businesses out that have been here for a very long time because of a certain setback. To me, it's not right and not okay. I would love to accept their permit and have them allowed to be on the same property as they have since day one.
I guess my question, and this will for sure fall to you, so prepare your mic.
Seriously.
I think we should follow the fire code just based on liability, correct? But if the fire code sometimes is written to prevent victims, right? To protect everybody else, that's not the cause of the problem. If the said victims here would be the church, if they agree on a notarized variance from them, allowing that hazard to be close to their property line. Is this something, because I think it's silly,
It's still across the street and extremely far. It's not like they're right next to them.
well, I think it's silly that the house is directly south of,
Right.
of them or closer potentially, and they're allowed to light off whatever they want. And I know it's not the same quantity or mass. I know it's not, I know it's not the same quantity or mass, but I, there's some weirdness there.
This was
So-
my whole argument last time too. When this whole thing came, we have a huge neighborhood all around Lincoln, because everybody lights up fireworks. It's the 4th of July. So everybody is okay to light off fireworks right in front of their house and around everybody else around them. But yet you can't sell a stand within 300 feet because there's people supposedly in that building that probably aren't in there.
I think the
wild.
bigger issue is.
No, that is the
The
issue.
volume.
That's exactly the whole issue.
The volume is a lot different when you are at a sales stand than what you have in your yard to shoot off.
I highly doubt that because some neighborhoods and people that buy fireworks, and they basically have a huge stand.
I understand the premise of it. It's for sure a volume issue, but I would defer to you. Is this a wise thing to offer? Cause I guess what I'm trying to do is allow business, but pass the liability on to the potential victim. Right.
I've been here for years. Have
So-
they had an issue?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I think the difficulty is that we start off with what does your law allow you to do? Right, I mean, ultimately, the council, I guess I can tell you what the law is, right? So the council has passed a zoning ordinance on fireworks sales. It has setbacks in it. There's nothing in your code, and it's something you've heard me say multiple times, that gives the Board of Adjustment, the Planning and Zoning Commission, or the council the ability to tell people you don't have to follow the law. Right, so basically that's the starting point. There might be a path to get there, but the law does not, like, I could not go to the city and say, I want permission to speed. I want permission to speed through town, or I want the permission to shoot a gun off in town, right? I can't come to you and ask you to give me a special permission not to follow the law that you passed. So here, the process is somebody applies for a permit. The rural fire department acts as the agent of the city to exercise the permit, whether the permit's going to be granted or not. The permit has been denied. What your code says is the next stop is the Board of Adjustments. So your code gives the Board of Adjustments the ability to interpret the code, and it gives the Board of Adjustments some flexibility in interpreting the code. It doesn't give the Board of Adjustments the ability to give a variance so that you don't have to obey the code, but there's some leeway there. And then if the Board of Adjustments denies the request, or if it grants the request and somebody has an issue with it, then the next appeal is to the council. So to some extent, we're not in a regular order as again, as to what your ordinance says. Doesn't mean that you don't have that authority as the council. I'm just telling you, this is the ordinances, this is the setup that you have done. And to some extent, the debate about whether or not the setback is a good idea or a bad idea, that debate should have happened when you had adopted the ordinance.
It was.
So then the other issue is whether or not this is a non-conforming use under your code, right? Because that's what I've heard in the application, if they've been there for 20 years. And, you know, there might be, again, this is why it would be better if it had gone to the Board of Adjustments, for the Board of Adjustments to consider it in some kind of regular
But I
order.
don't think they had enough time with it, them being denied June sixth and July 4th is right around the corner and they want to sell.
Again, I understand there's a timing issue. All I can tell you is what your code says, and what your code says the regular order is, right? And if that creates issues, it creates issues. But your I looked at your non-conforming use statute, and again, the non-conforming use statute requires that the non-conforming use be continual. If it's not continual, if there's a delay in your use, then you lose that non-conforming use. Except if you recall when we did the developers before you were here, but when the council considered the developers agreement, you amended your non-conforming use code to allow for seasonal uses, but how that is written is seasonal uses based on weather, which I'm not sure that this applies, right? So I mean, I looked at this to try to figure out like, what are your legal options here? And you know, I don't know that there's a clear legal way to get there. And then as your question about liability, certainly liability is an issue. It would be helpful to know, and I don't know that we have this information, how short are they from the setback?
I would
I
say,
mean, you know, because that's the other part, and, you know, and my take on this is that when citizens come for their personal use, the city maybe should have more flexibility, but when people come for commercial uses, it puts a huge burden on us. And again, you can tell us this is what you want us to do. It's a huge burden on us to figure this out. When it's a commercial use, the commercial businesses should be bearing this burden and coming to us with all this information because it's commercial. This is a money making. No offense to you, and I'm not trying to make an example out of you. I had several conversations with Ron about this, and we're, you know, again, trying to be helpful, but we're trying to outline what the legal background of this is. And that, you know, what we want is we want commercial businesses to get ahead of these things so that we can do them in a regular order. Like that's the plan. Now, what you do this year, I think you have some discretion, but your discretion, what I would say is should not be based in variance. If you're gonna exercise discretion, and again, I'm not giving you opinion one way or the other, but if you're gonna exercise that discretion, it should be grounded in the non-conforming use statute, because to me, that's the only legally thing. Otherwise, what you're saying to the citizens is, if you can come to the council will give you permission to not follow the code. And some of these vendors have already looked at the code and then changed their business practices to comply, and that's what we want. We want to encourage that over time. It's less burdensome on the city.
And if,
I was gonna see if I could get some clarification with the setback. So it lists out the property types, and in this scenario is the church. Is that 300 feet? Is that from like the curb line of the property of the church? Is it from the building?
Yeah, the way it's listed right now is property line to property line, so it's basically 90 feet is the width of the road.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess to that fact, where we typically set up is approximately 300 foot from, if you're using building to building, wall to wall versus property line to property line.
so you're basically within the standards already.
Correct. So the non-conforming use, is there any precedents, options or avenues?
It's
Just with the-
grant.
non-conforming is the precedent.
Yeah, I mean, again, I want to be clear, I'm not trying to express an opinion about what the council should do. I'm just saying that if you're looking for what the underpinnings of a decision, it would be in the non-conforming use statute, right? Because they have been there for a period of time. The Tumbleweed has used that location for a period of time.
For years.
You know, my opinion is if we litigated this in court, the city would win, but again, that doesn't mean that prevents you from making some kind of compromise this year. My only stipulation would be is that if you vote to allow compromise this year, that a condition of that be that the owners agree that they won't be back next year claiming a non-conforming use, and we're gonna have to address this again next year. That would be my only thing, just to take that issue off.
Correct, yeah, that, Well, that would be my knee-jerk reaction, right, policies and procedures always change. So in this situation, I think it'd be fair to consider allowing it. With the exception of next year, we can't. I think that gives enough variance and room we don't want to put businesses into like regulatory purgatory, right? We don't want to just keep boxing people in and preventing that growth and improvement. So I think that's fine, right? It does need to have a leash on it.
I do want, Engineer Marshak,
Yes.
when did you contact the vendor?
So, I have notes, and my notes say that I reached out prior to the March. Let me see, March 24th, there was a special meeting for this ordinance approval. I didn't note who I all got a hold of, or if I was able to leave messages with all of them. It was a little bit of a struggle for me to figure out who those were, as the current admin assistant was unavailable and didn't get me contact information till the following week after this ordinance had gone through. So there was some effort on our part to try and notify previous applicants outside of the normal ways that we notify public, right? We do public notices and we have public hearings that are held. So outside of that, we did make an attempt, but I have to say, I did not get the actual numbers from those applications until after that meeting was held.
And if I remember correctly, the fire chief brought this to attention because of the safety issue. It's not a desire one way or the other for the commercial aspect, but the thing that was being addressed was safety issue, and that's how things get updated, because accidents happen. The unforeseen issues happen.
I think that was how I understood us reviewing this ordinance. Was we were trying to be proactive and get in line with some of those. I mentioned International Fire Code. I believe the other document they provided information from is the NFPA 1124 requirements. And I cannot off the top of my head remember what that acronym stands for, but that is where we came up with distances, offsets, was directly from those professional documents. It wasn't something that the group reviewing the ordinance just came up with. So, I think the whole reasoning behind this ordinance revision was to be proactive and implement some safety measures for the community.
I'd like to say that I know that when we did affirm this ordinance as a board, we really were concerned about making sure that all the business owners would be given proper and adequate notice, because we do want you here. And so seeing as though that may have been something that was missed, and given the fact that you are within 300 feet wall to wall instead of property line to property line, and given the fact that you've been here in our community for 20 years, I would like to make a motion and move to issue a non-conforming use statute with the condition of no future non-conforming statutes.
We have a first by Councilwoman Artavia.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Councilwoman Davis. Any discussion?
I have a quick question, and I'm sure it's something you guys have probably already looked at, but I just want to make sure it's not overlooked. Have you guys considered set up on the south side of the lot, if that would be any further away from the property line?
The issue to it is the residents across the street. Yeah, there's numerous issues and I'm not super familiar with the entire ordinance. I glanced at it and grabbed what I could, but there's also two gas station pumps, fuel pumps on the opposite side of the building, and there's setbacks there as well. So those are just other things into consideration. So the location that we're in, based on, feedback, we feel that that's the safest location to be currently.
In liability insurance, we do hold $2 million liability insurance policy.
I did see that in the packet.
And Attorney Rodney, if there were an accident that happened, because accidents can't be foreseen necessarily, what would the liability be to the city?
Madam Mayor, the city's liability, I believe, is capped by statute. So, in the event that there was litigation that the city was involved in, the city's liability, I think, is capped by statute, and the city has insurance. I'm not sure the city can be held responsible under these circumstances for issuing the permit. The issuing of the permit is an application of the city's regulatory authority, and I don't know that you can sue somebody for that. So I'm not overly concerned about liability for the city. My general hope for the city over time is to get into a regular order where the city strives to apply its ordinances in an even manner, and that we get away from the idea that the council has authority and discretion to allow people variances to not follow what the law is, right? That's my general position. But again, this is strict. Again, if you look at what the Board of Adjustment statute says, it's this understanding that strict application of the code can lead to unjust results, and that's why the Board of Adjustments has some ability to adjust the application of regulation. They don't have the ability to ignore it. So I'm comfortable that the law gives the city some ability on a non-conforming use basis to override the denial, but it's not based on a variance.
For future reference, if we change an ordinance or a statute or anything within the city, and if it happens to affect businesses, I would highly suggest the city of Lincoln reach out to them personally, the city staff, reach out to them to allow them to make changes. I had Red, White, and Boom come to me and ask me questions. So again, if the city would actually reach out to the businesses, maybe we would keep them in our town.
I like that. Thank you, Amanda. We weren't informed by email or by phone call. The first I heard was June 9th.
I appreciate you guys coming and reaching out to me and getting you on. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I could restate the motion in a more formal way. Because I'd like it to include the name of Memory Fireworks. Is that best? Okay, I'd like to move to issue a permit of non-conforming use statute with the condition of no future non-conforming permit for Memory Fireworks.
I'll second that motion.
We have a first by Councilwoman Artadia, second by Councilwoman Davis. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Get the roll call, please.
Natalia,
Yes.
Berenson,
No.
Davis,
Yes.
Elbitry.
Yes.
I mean, shoot, if everybody in the neighborhood can light them off. At least sell them right next to them. Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah, just asking a follow-up questions, the non-conforming use, so the non-conforming use in the future, right, is that we're abiding to the existing ordinance as it is written, correct?
So going forward after this season, you will have to abide by the ordinance that is in place. Yes.
All right, thank you very much for the clarification.
And one more, do we need to fill out a new application?
Since yours was denied, I would assume you would have to fill it out because it was denied.
I don't think so. I think that we'll just have to handle it internally.
Okay, if there's any other further paperwork, you can just contact me.
Thank
I
you.
don't see any point.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is the attorney's report.
It's been a busy couple of weeks. The city has a lot of things in play. I'll just give you the 3 highlights that are on the agenda. As you recall, we've been working since around the first of the year with the Burley County Detention Center and the sheriff to get a new jail contract in place. We had it down. The first issue was indemnification that was not acceptable, and after a conference call with including Ender, which is our insurer, and county's insurer, the county agreed to take that out. The last term had to do with providing medical care, and I visited with the sheriff on that and sent him some proposed language, and he sent some proposed language back. And earlier in the week or late last week, I informed him that we're all in agreement, and I'm waiting for the clean copy of the agreement to come. So I will follow up, and we should be able to get that voted on and in place. And my expectation is that going forward, that will be an easier process because we have an agreement now that is more acceptable. The beautification ordinance, participated in a meeting with city engineer and city staff on that, and there's some work that I need to do, and I have not had a chance to complete that. I'm hoping to move that forward for the next meeting. The utility fiber optic agreement, I was provided with a draft agreement. I looked at it. It, in my opinion, is not as robust as it could be. I have found a similar agreement that the city of West Fargo recently completed on the same subject matter, and think perhaps that might be a more suitable agreement for us to modify for the city of Lincoln's needs, but have not yet had a chance to visit in detail with city administrator or Councilman O'Beachy about that. But my recommendation is that we use a more robust agreement. And then the other issue that I suppose the council might need to consider is that as part of that agreement, city of West Fargo is receiving a use fee for use of the right of way. And I think it's at 3 or 4%. Yeah, and I have a question about whether that's legal, but both the city and the provider agreed to it. And so at some point, we might have to have a conversation about whether that's building some kind of cost share in is important to the city. So this is not a franchise agreement, so we're not allowed to charge a franchise fee. But the law does allow the city to be reimbursed for the use of the right of way. And again, my understanding is the city might be more interested in having providers come and building out better services than they are in trying to provide a tax. But anyway, that'll be part of the discussion when we bring the agreement to you. So it's in play. We should have something for you at the next meeting, but I need to meet with the city administrator and you council. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I actually would like Councilman O'Beachy. This is something that you've been planning on. I don't know if everybody is aware of the conversations and why they came about, so you can get a high level overview of why the discussions are happening
Sure.
and what the city's looking at.
Well, we've been approached 3 times by potential fiber optic providers to build into the city. I think that's great. That's a great opportunity for the city. But there are some barriers there that just protect the city and the city's interests. And we do that through right-of-way agreements in some aspects, franchise agreements in some aspects. And so that's what's caused this communication and this extra work a little bit to make sure we can provide something great for people with Lincoln.
Thank you. Any questions for either?
All right. Anything else?
Then we will carry on item letter N. Chief Gibbons.
I would like to introduce this as he makes his way up there. I had asked him, I think let's see, we're in June, probably in May, if we could, potentially start looking at our micro mobility. I did not know that was a word at that moment, but I knew that we were running into some dangerous situations with the scooters and, the micro mobility devices. So he has been tasked with it. Mayor Berglund has worked with me just a little bit on it as we start making some more clear definitions as we moving forward, as well as I wanted him to bring in some of the statistics that are a little bit alarming out there right now. So this is something that I've tasked him to do, and now he's going to present. Thank you.
Thank you, City Administrator. Madam Mayor, council members, thanks for having me today. Really what this is I believe at our last council meeting, maybe it was one before that, we were provided an update to what would have been our regulations for bicycles, to start addressing and identifying some of the micro mobility devices that are being used by our youth, and some of our young adults, so that we have an idea of what we can do to help provide some safety for not only them, but also our individuals who are operating motor vehicles now. And so biggest things about this is really about identifying what they are. Under North Dakota law currently, any e-scooter that goes over 15 miles an hour is a motor vehicle. We can't change that at all. That's North Dakota law. Any electric bike without pedals is considered a motorcycle. We can't control that. There's nothing we can do about that. But if we can start putting something in place to help us to identify, why should a electric scooter be able to go more than 15 if vehicles aren't allowed more than 15? And that's the issues we're running into. Some of the statistics that we have out there, and we just had one the other day in Bismarck. June 14th, 2026, a juvenile was injured while operating a bicycle that was struck by a vehicle. It included head injuries. Richland County, June 2nd, a child was airlifted after being critically injured involving a crash with a truck and an e-bike. June 2nd, a look at LPD officer was heading to work when a juvenile female operating an electric scooter failed to yield to a traffic at the intersection of 66th and Dolan. This prompted vehicles to lock up their brakes to avoid striking the juvenile. Officer indicated the juvenile was traveling at approximately 20 to 25 miles an hour. Dickinson, May 23rd, 2026, a juvenile female tragically died in a single vehicle accident while traveling southbound. Vehicle veered right, overturned, and struck a light pole. That was what would be considered a motorized scooter, which we have in our community currently. Those are considered motorcycles by North Dakota law. I can't control that. That's the law. We do have youth who are utilizing those right now. Carrington, North Dakota, May 20th, 2026. Juvenile e-bicyclist was seriously injured after leaving a parking lot and being struck by an oncoming vehicle. The victim was not wearing a helmet and had to be flown to Fargo by Sanford Airmen. Lincoln, May 2nd, a juvenile male operating an e-bike traveling westbound on Dolan was crossing 66th Avenue and struck a motor vehicle that was traveling northbound. This prompted us to respond with medical. As you can see, it's increasing. It's increasing. Councilwoman Davis, did you have a question?
It's funny how a child can get hurt and the cops go by 3 different times, but yet we're worried about bikes.
Oh, I'm not sure what you're referring to in this one, so I'll continue on going with this. Again, what this ordinance does, what we have provided to is everything in red is really the changes. The first portion of changes comes underneath 13-1201. That just states the purpose of what this ordinance is about, to help us understand what it is. What are we trying to accomplish here? Then it goes into the definitions. We don't have definitions currently in our ordinance to help us to identify and provide education to our youth, to our families, to the community. Really the only big changes that it comes with, and this is where we would turn to you is, do we want restrictions?
Excuse me, can I ask for, him to be able to finish? I don't know how to address that. We need to allow him to finish the presentation. I don't know where that decorum is supposed to be. Thank you.
I would say the 2 to 3 biggest changes are going to be identifying if there's age restrictions. We as the city and you as council have to make that determination as, do you want individuals who are who aren't even allowed to get a driver's license to be able to operate motor vehicles that can go 20 to 25 miles an hour? So that's the one piece, and that's where we're looking for some guidance on that. Do we ask for certain requirements when it comes to helmet wear? Are there going to be speed restrictions? Again, because some of these vehicles go over 15 miles an hour, our youth who have not been trained or educated are going over 15 miles an hour. And it's only a matter of time if something very bad happens, and we want to stop that. Then the other part, and this is already portioned in North Dakota Central Code, but identifying any stunts, reckless operations prohibited on public roadways. This is not, I don't want to get rid of them. I think kids getting outside is the greatest thing we can do. I just want to be able to provide education from our officers to the community so that we can identify what we can do to prevent anything like what happened in Dickinson, what's happened in Bismarck quite frequently from happening here. That's, I mean.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Your definitions and what you've added, did you go off of another ordinance that's already been in place, or are you mirroring?
Yep, so Dickinson just recently, and I don't remember the date, just recently updated theirs to start identifying more devices that are not e-bikes, because e-bikes are a completely separate device under North Dakota law and are required for different items. They have 3 different levels of class. They can go from 20 to 28, but you have to pedal. So that's why they've defined them as that. What we're looking for is to help to identify and define what some of these other ones are and what the community wants to be done to help prevent something bad from happening in the future. So yes, these were pulled from Dickinson had it. West Fargo has an ordinance. Fargo has an updated ordinance. And then a lot of bigger cities across the nation also have. That's where the micro mobility devices wordage came from. Is from it's nationwide because you don't know what else to call them. And for you guys to understand what a micro mobility device is, it means any electric, so self-powered or human-powered device used for short distance transportation, including bicycles, skateboards, scooters, roller skates, and similar devices. So it's covering bikes, it's covering rollerblades, it's covering skateboards, and then everything as an electric as we continue to grow, as they continue to come out. Just because the manufacturer makes it doesn't mean that it's legal for it to be used on the streets.
I did have, I would know allude to a conversation that you and I had on this earlier. You're looking at doing a safety type class that was geared in July.
Correct.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And I'm wondering, how can we reach out to more than I want to get some education out there on this. So how
Isn't that the parents though? Like that the safety 101 should be bike safety 101 coming from the parents. And if the parent is going to buy the child said whatever device, that safety should be coming from the parents.
Well, I think that could be geared towards parents, kids, whoever would want to come to a safety clinic of sorts.
I have an e-bike.
I the laws.
Yeah. Funny though, children can fall off of bikes and get hurt and worry about safety, but yet police will pass 3 different times.
Can we stay on topic?
It is on topic, actually, and then this is for safety of children, is it not? So I'm speaking over my own child who was passed by our own police 3 different times as she was bleeding on the ground. Thank you. So if we're so worried about safety, maybe we should actually pay attention and, you know, watch those kids that are actually hurt lying on the ground. That'd be important. Exactly.
I have heard, local area cities that are looking to implement the same. Not specific to Lincoln, but in our metropolitan area here. So I think that, personally, the safety aspect of it, I think is good for all of us to know, and anything we can do to make ourselves, our kids.
Well, I mean, look how many drunk drivers are out there. I mean, I'm just saying. And we got alcohol in every corner.
I guess my concern in this situation, it's probably not probably a very invalid concern, but is this inch us closer to potentially registering bicycles? Cause I don't think that should ever.
No,
You don't got
no. So there's nothing in our ordinance here would require them. That would all be voluntary. They want to register stuff, so in case it gets stolen or it goes missing, then we have that and we can look it up. But no, there's no requirements in here for registration.
I mean, I'm all for getting a definition. We can't even have a conversation unless we know what we're talking about, right? So we definitely need a definition. I think that's important. Like I said, it's probably an invalid concern, but I do agree with the administrator that we probably should look at one of the more walkable cities and just see if they have something that we can steal from them. And Denver's a prime example, or Minneapolis, very walkable cities that I think that would be something we can potentially steal. This is a great option though. I don't think there's anything wrong with this.
If I may, kind of piggybacking on that registering portion of what Councilmember Beatry brought up. You stated that in some situations, some of these micro mobility devices are technically considered motorcycle by the state, correct?
Yep, and so then they would not be called micro mobility device. So any of the those electric dirt bikes that you see a lot of our youth using, because of the definition of North Dakota Century Code, and that has nothing to do with any of us. North Dakota Century Code says they are identified because they don't have pedals and they can go a certain speed. They are a motorcycle. So therefore, those would require registration through the state of North Dakota. Yep.
Would this ever inch us closer to not allowing e-bikes on the bike paths?
I don't think that it's in here. It says that everything can be used on the paths that we have, the sidewalks that we have, and the streets. It just limits the speed. Like if it can go 25, it has to remain at 15.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I guess the posted speed limit is, the posted speed limit is 15, that we probably should be about, because, typically bicycles by themselves still have to ignore the traffic laws anyways. So I think the speed limit is a fair ask.
That and the helmet.
Yeah,
So in that, I'll tell you right now, that is North Dakota does not have a helmet law other than motorcycles. So it's not required anywhere else.
An age restriction under 12.
That's for you guys to decide. This is presented to you for you guys to review. So what we have seen is most of the accidents and bad driving and operating is done by individuals under the age of 12. Because they don't know, because as you mentioned, parents are not giving them bike 101.
Yeah, I think the helmet's a good idea. I worry, I see that parents or guardians shall not knowingly permit,
Right, and so knowingly, that comes from our North Dakota Century Code as well, knowing, like, yes, I knew my son was outside riding his bike without his helmet on, or was intentionally breaking the laws and I didn't stop him.
Right.
But if it's no, I was at work, and he was out riding his bike, I get a call that he doesn't have his helmet on, now I'm gonna go do something, because that goes back to the parents.
Right.
Being responsible.
Because I have kids and I tell them all the time with their helmet on, I don't know that it stays on past the corner of the road.
100%, yeah. And the other piece of this is that we have, and it's on the last page when it comes to the penalty. Our officers are going to be giving warnings, education, And if you get the repeated offenders, or if you get parents who are just like, I don't care, you can't make us do anything, well, we can. Because if they're operating a motor vehicle, such as the electric powered dirt bikes, you are now allowing an unauthorized minor to operate a motor vehicle on public roads, and that's B misdemeanor. So we'd rather get out there and educate and say, hey, this is why. These streets are not meant for this, these are for this. I don't care about ditches, I'm not Burley County, I don't care, like, that's not my thing. We have to enforce what's in the city of Lincoln, so that we can make sure that our community is safe. And I just want to put something in place so we have something that we can go off and say, this is what your elected official chose to implement, we are just enforcing what that is.
So just for clarification, you aren't necessarily looking for us to approve this.
No,
Just
no.
No,
No.
what I'm asking for is that it would go to legal.
So the legal
Our
can
city
review
attorney.
this. And then, the other part that we could absolutely do, a lot of this stuff was pulled from big cities. I can't remember if it was Nashville or Memphis was one of the big ones that we pulled. A lot of the East Coast cities and states are already on top of this because they see a lot more of that use. In their downtown areas, so they have those, so we pulled a lot of information from that. I could not tell you which parts were pulled from where, off the top of my head, but that is one thing that we want to do, because I don't wanna reinvent the wheel. I wanna go off what our best practices, what's the best way we can get this going, to move forward. This in no way prevents any of these micromobility devices from being in the city. It just helps us to identify, like, no, they are allowed. Because when people call me and say, how are you allowing that? Because we don't have a law that says they can't, and there's nothing on the books, then nothing I can do. Now because they're allowed. That's why. So, any other questions? Thank you very much for your time.
Do we need a motion on this or?
Yeah.
Yes, I think that would be fair to bring a motion to forward it to our legal counsel for recommendations and reviews.
I would make a motion to move forward with a further review of revision request of title 13-12 in regards to micromobility.
We have a first by Councilman Bjornstead,
I'll second.
second by Councilman Ogletree. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I,
If you could give the roll call, please.
Bertaglia,
Yes.
Grinson,
Yes.
Davis,
no,
Ogletree.
Yes.
All right, next on the agenda for portfolio reports. Are there any?
I would have a little bit of one. I was able to take the opportunity last week to help out with some of the door-to-door, doing the water supply line inventory. And I'm happy to say that we were able to mark a lot of addresses off of the list. There was something though that I did want to bring up. It was brought to my attention that some of the people that were out doing this to assist with doing the door-to-door work had some rude or inappropriate comments made to them while they're out doing this. And I just kind of wanted to put out a little bit of a PSA or reminder that these people were taking time out of their evenings to time away from family, relaxing, to help residents comply with something that honestly could have been done more than 2 years ago. And it's not hard to be civil and be respectful to the people around the community, so please try to be nice to people.
that's funny, cause I heard, the same thing, but quite backwards. So. It's nice to be nice to people indeed.
Okay. I would like to say that, there is a positive update regarding the MPO's fringe area roads master plan, at the last MPO meeting. I was encouraged to see that the draft plan specifically identifies Lincoln and its planned city center as a regional destination. And that's significant because it recognizes the growth and the vision that we have for the city. So I just wanted to share that we are now part of our long-term planning within the county and with the metropolitan area.
Weren't we just labeled to one of like the happiest places to live? Yep, we were.
But being one of those cities involved in that regional transportation planning process helps Lincoln for future transportation. And that's something positive. And city administrator, do you want the motion for tree board before or after yours?
It would be. We could do whatever you want. Okay. So we have, I'll just go forward with it if you guys are done with your portfolios, okay? So the tree board, has met and recommended, two different tree board, appointments. The first being Michaela Pierce, which was recommended on March 3rd of 2026. And, no legal review is needed. And the motion for suggested motion is Mayor Berglund to appoint council to move on appointment of Michaela Pierce. And we can appoint them separately.
All right, so having reviewed the applications and I would ask for appointment of both. Speaking of approval, like
We have separate appointments. Is that appropriate at this point?
so, the first appointment for Lock and More. So I would be looking for approval of my appointment.
I would make a motion to approve Mayor Berglund's. I would make a motion to approve Mayor Berglund's appointment of Black and Moore to the tree board.
We have a first by Councilman Bjornstead,
Second.
second by Councilman Alvitri. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And if we could get a call on that.
Batavia,
Yes.
Stevenson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Alvitri.
Yes.
And I would also like to appoint Michaela Pierce to the tree board. I'm asking for council's approval of that appointment.
I make a motion to approve Mayor Berglund's appointment of Michaela Pierce to the tree board.
I'll second that motion. And why it was all the way from March is because that got sent to me in Facebook Messenger, which I don't check. So if you want to send something for the city, you should use the city email. Same.
We have a first by Councilman Bjornstead, a second by Councilwoman Davis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And so moved. If we could get a roll call, please.
Batavia,
Yes.
Stevenson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Alvitri.
Yes.
And that just highlights that there are multiple opportunities available within the city to serve. We have planning and zoning, board of adjustments, EDC, and I think we're full on tree board now, so, but we're always open to having more people in attendance for that. If we can move on to city administrators report.
Thank you, Mayor Berglund and council. Today, I have to report that the 2025 Consumer Confidence Report is ready and available. It is posted around town and it is available on our website. The 2024 audit has begun. Information has already flowing back and forth. North Dakota League of Cities Conference, again, September 16th to 18th. Council is encouraged to attend. It's a great avenue for training and learning so much more than just how to be a council member, but so much information there. Next week, we are having an all employee meeting on the 25th. And we are planning to do a resident appreciation barbecue again this year, and that's on September 15th. From 5 to 7. We do have Dakota Community Bank donating quite a bit to that effort. I do ask that all council make sure you let me know that you can make it, because there's a sort of a meet and greet type area where you are making root beer floats for everybody. So it's kind of a time to visit and probably be asked a lot of questions. So if you can't make it, please reach out on that. That's September 15th, 5 to 7. I did add, since you've gotten your packets, a couple items. The unofficial election results. We did have 2 write-ins that did qualify as write-in candidates that are, what is that term? The elect would be Brandon Shook. And then there was some, I don't know really how to do it. Just, there was a little bit of issue about what that 10% threshold was, and I explained what I read in Century Code, and Burley County election official understood what I said. So the criteria of that 10% was changed to how I thought it should have been read. So now there is 2 write-in names on the ballot that you can see on Secretary of State's website. Also, a financial item that I wanted to bring in. So this is actually a motion I'm going to ask for. We have, because of the way we're on the top end of receiving our funds for the year that we're going to be working off of. I would like to buy another certificate of deposit. I have looked at both our entities in town, our financial institutions in town, and the best rate was from Dakota Community Bank at the 4.04% APY and at a 6-month term. I would like to transfer $1 million from our checking into a certificate of deposit. Now, if there's a concern on the available cash end of it, we have several of them that are clicking off in the next couple months that we're going to be renewing. So we have that ability to reanalyze. 2 months, I think, is our our next one that we're going to reanalyze. August, yes. So at that point, I would like to have a motion for that one.
Wishes of council.
I'd make a motion to approve the CD at Dakota Community Bank at a rate of 1.04% for 6 months in the sum of $1 million.
It should be set as
4.04 APY, yeah,
Let me amend that to 4.08%.
thank you.
I prefer the board.
Yeah.
We have a first by Councilman Winstead. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Councilwoman Ortavia. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
If we could get the roll call, please.
Batavia,
Yes.
Grandson,
Yes.
Davis,
No,
Belvitri.
Yes. But I do have a question though. Is there, do we get higher rates for longer duration?
No, unfortunately, that is our sweet spot. That is why I asked for
I'm
6
sure you
months.
thought about that, but I was just wondering if there was. something else.
It's, yes, it's not.
Okay.
At this time,
It's typically. Right.
city administrator, you have all employee meeting will be held on June 25th. Is there a time frame, or is that still up in the air?
I think we're looking at 3 to 5.
Cause it wasn't on here.
Oh, sorry.
Figured I'd ask.
I want to reiterate that is employees, it's not a council.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
okay,
I
okay.
understand.
All right.
I'm just verifying
Okay.
the time.
And is there anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, next two people.
I'd say, if I may, actually, before moving on, plan was for that second grade to take effect with July 1st.
It is, yes.
Are we-
Thank you for bringing that back up.
Comfortable with where it's at.
I am comfortable where it's at. It's I want to leave it as it is and present it in July. And, because the starting wages aren't changing. That is where we're at, is the starting wages that have been approved are not changing. It's the job assignments and the job descriptions that are being dug into. The step and grade, we're ready to show it to you. We knew this was going to be a long meeting, and I didn't know if you guys wanted it in pieces, because we have the step and grade ready, but I'm not necessarily ready for the job descriptions piece of it.
I guess my only concern is just to make sure that with this taking effect, that we are prepared for it budget wise.
I was prepared for it in April when I had brought it forward. That, actually late March, I was prepared at that point to say, yes, our budget can handle it in 2026. It was where in those steps do some of them lie? That is, and that might be that nobody moves up a step until 2027 budget starts, or January 1st. It might be that they're at that starting wage. We really need to dig into that piece of it, but the starting wage itself, I wasn't going to change off of what you guys had agreed to.
So the starting wage that was agreed upon is not the wage that our employees are going to have. That's a starting wage for somebody coming off the street. Correct? Could be.
It is the starting wage for the positions that we have right now.
So it's not a starting wage. It's current rate.
Right, but we have to start somewhere. And
So-
that is where we're going to start.
So what are the starting wages for somebody coming in as a council bed? Share that information. Because that would be part of
That would be
building
the
that
minimum,
start.
that was the minimum recommendations. Was that starting wage. But our budget needs to be able to accommodate going forward. And I understand that, the employees understand that. If we have to wait until January 1 of 27 to put them in the correct steps, that might be what we have to do. But at the rate that was approved by council, the budget was able to support it in 26.
And just to clarify, those are not starting salaries or
Yes, they are.
starting, so they're going to be adjusted after this is put into effect,
What is going to be adjusted?
salaries for step and grades. So somebody that's making just say $10 today, that could possibly change a couple months down the road when we align where they are step and grade, so that's not necessarily where current staff is going to.
Where I'm leaning is what I've alluded to, is that we're going to be able to start at those starting wages July 1st. Our budget can support those numbers. But where they are, individuals.
I'm talking about new employees. If somebody comes in August 1st, where
That
are
is
they
the
going
numbers
to?
that we have been given by Bold Mines. The
Old Lines
minimum.
gave the suggestion that, or not even a suggestion, they gave, this is what other cities averaged. It did not take into account experience, time, anything like that. So those, they weren't provided that these are numbers we should have. But that being said, will these salaries that were scheduled to come into effect July 1st, will they be the numbers or will there be adjustments?
No, that'll be the numbers.
I highly suggest council definitely looks through the budget thoroughly and makes a wise decision on who we really want to raise.
I'm not looking at who, I'm looking at position.
I'm just trying to
remember-
in position, yeah.
No, I'm not looking at the people. I'm looking at the positions going forward.
I was just wondering, what was our last comment on this as council that we wanted to say yes to go forward at this time, but it was conditional, wasn't it?
I thought it was just, we were treating this meeting as a checkpoint.
Yes.
Was that
my
correct?
understanding.
Yeah, I thought it was just
a checkpoint of where I was at with it. I am ready with the step and grade. We can show you that. I can send it out to you, what I would like to see. I would like a presentation of sorts for your purview and an explanation of how that came together. So that you're confident in where the numbers come from and how they're moving along. The positions themselves, and I think that is where respectfully, Mayor Berglund, I think that is where the hangup is that the positions we have and the positions that the definitions of those, in each individual piece of those job descriptions, you're not seeing that they're being adhered to. You want to see the level up here of what, let's say, let's put my position on the docket here. You want to see that position sitting there at this level of accountability, of job description, of duties. You want to see that up here where it should be. And so that is what I need to go do now is, and I don't need to go do because I've started reading through and I've started working through this. But each of the positions that we have and that has already been approved by council, I need to make sure that they're doing those job descriptions are covering every need that we have. Because we have so many different needs that cross over into other descriptions as well. So I need to make sure that the city is functioning at optimal level, that we're covering everything.
And to clarify, my position is not necessarily that. My position is you and your position in the city of Lincoln may be different job duty wise than those positions in other cities. That would be the first. And that, as far as what Bold Minds had, the data that they had accumulated. It did not break down whether that person in your same position had that salary because they had been there for 10, 15, 20 years. So that is where my hangup is, because we took numbers from, and say, is how many cities, but it did not state that somebody in Lincoln that's been here for 2 years compared to somebody in Valley City that has been there for 15 years. That is my hangup. That is the question, and that is the issue I have, not who's in any position, not the dollar amount associated with it. Mine is we don't have the job descriptions. So why are we implementing salary changes for positions that we don't have defined? Because it has the same job title as another city with no reference to the experience, the education, and those sorts of things. That is my hangup.
Respectfully, you're never going to find a city that's gonna exactly mirror.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
You don't need to, it needs to be experienced, should be number one, and then a salary should then attach on to experience. It shouldn't just be, oh, hey, cause Sally down the street gets that, so you get that. There's two different things. Some people may do way more in that job position, and this person might only do like 2 things in the job
So
description.
why are we
But
working
yeah,
on
they
a
still get
second
paid.
grade if that's your thought for the wage? Why are we working on that if it's the job description, then
I have repeatedly shared that. And when both minds presented their report to council, they also said that this is not suggested salaries. They said this is averages to give you an idea of what other communities are paid. They never said, these are the numbers that we should be implementing. It didn't.
The council should reverse the whole thing and not do any salary updates until budget is thoroughly gone through, and then you can decide how you want to do any sort of raise or salary change. Or we just, spend money because we like to spend money.
We don't, and I know I've heard, we don't want to spend money, we don't have to. We don't even know what that dollar amount is because nobody, to my understanding, has reached out to get a cost estimate. But we are putting the city, we're implementing changes that could possibly have long-term effects. And because of the size and the work that's already been paid for in the wage analysis, it could be a minimal investment with long-term benefits. I absolutely 100% believe our employees need to be compensated for the work that they do. But I believe it needs to be grounded
Based off the job.
And when you have organizations that provide this service with communities with larger staff, I'm not saying our staff can't do it, but when you have 100 staff in a neighboring city, they outsource. Or somebody on the border cities, they outsource it because it is such a niche. Why we are not making sure when we are going to implement something that has long-term effects. You can't go back and change it once you implement it. So why not make sure everything is done? And if we don't even have the job descriptions aligned for that, why are we putting into place new salaries where we just pull numbers out? It's not a good practice. I have said it. And that's fine.
Set the city up for some major fun, quote unquote. And didn't we just give raises as well? I mean, we definitely caught up on quite a few department heads and departments because we were behind. Granted, and we were behind. But I'm pretty sure over the last 4 years, we've given multiple raises to the same ones to continue to keep getting them caught up. So I'm pretty sure all of our heads or all of our departments are caught up and it should be well aligned with any city or any neighboring community that we have with those job description titles.
I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying have it all in place before you implement it.
So I'll make a motion to continue the pause on the raises until after budget is completed. I'll try one more time.
And the first by Councilwoman Davis,
I'll second the motion.
second by Councilwoman Artavia. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed?
I,
I'll put opposed, I vote to pause.
motion carries. Should we do a roll call on that one?
You need a roll call.
Roll call, please.
See,
Artavia,
Yes.
Aaronson,
no,
Davis,
yes,
Albetree,
So,
Mayor Berglund,
Yes. So moved. I'll ask a question on top of that, then is it to take a look at an outside entity to develop a complete, or do you want to take a look at? Well. As far as developing this, the compensation package. In full,
and that would be up to council.
that's what I'm asking. Because defining those numbers is the question. Councilwoman Artavia, Councilwoman Davis, so you make the motion in second.
I'm not interested in putting forward a motion.
I'll say, you can continue to keep looking or going back and forth, or reaching out and getting a third rundown of wages, but again, the outline and the basis of what we have received, we could go off of. Doesn't mean we have to follow or obey that, but we can go off of that as some sort of basis.
So would it be prudent to at least reach out and get cost estimates? Administrator on.
You can make that decision if you would like.
Council,
We can go outside and get another purview.
council,
may I suggest that since the motion was made to pause this, that we take the next 2 weeks before the next meeting to reply to and figure out each as a council member how we'd like to proceed from here.
I mean, I will piggyback on that one and say we have had plenty of time, that's for sure. If we haven't dug into it ourselves, well, then that's just shame on us. Just being honest.
I guess the reason I bring that up, because the 2 council members that voted to pause the action have not brought up any alternative.
We don't need to bring up an alternative, and this is the second time I'm bringing the motion to the table, so. Second meeting in a row. 2 pods.
so what in effect is the pause? What is going to change, at least from today? If, are we just pausing it to pause it, or are we pausing it to look for information? I don't, the reason we haven't looked at an outside source is because of the cost associated, but we don't know what that cost is.
I believe when you brought this forward a couple of weeks ago, in it was about $70,000 from a very specific entity in Minnesota.
And again, I bring this up because we really need to dig deep into that budget. And if those are the numbers that council wants to go through, well then fine, but we should, and as new council members are coming on, should be looking at the budget first before just going and giving out different raises or changing that.
City Administrator, did you have a rough number of what the total annual spend would be at current rate compared to the delta of the new rate?
No, I didn't unless you have that in your head somewhere.
What the increased cost was going to be for each department.
Correct,
Just-
and that,
Just total out the door for entire city spend.
I think PD was at the higher with more employees, but they had their budget covered because of their decrease in prosecutor fees. And Public Works, I think, was about 20. It's either 18 to 20,000. And the office with our having a 70,000 approved employee that was not hired right away and started later, we were still gonna be within line.
the total though, we have to be careful how you say that because the total on the general fund is going to be overspent. We have one line item that is a problem right now.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just curious about what dollars we just paused on the spend and then want to weigh that against the impact. I mean,
I really wish I had those numbers for you to tell you right now, but I wasn't prepared for this conversation, so.
well, I don't think anyone was.
When is the budget meeting?
I mean, I said it last week too, so it shouldn't be too surprising.
I would like the budget meetings to start, first after the holiday. I think that that's where we can, we are in the middle of it already. And we are, I think we're in the middle of 26 now. And so it's not a hard process. It's
right around the corner is what
It
I'm trying
is.
to establish, so
It
people
is.
get an understanding. We're right in this season. of
Yeah,
budget.
we are in the season of budget, but the most amazing thing that just happened though is the 24 audit started. So we are getting pulled in a few directions, but we did not want to pause the 24 audit. We're just tackling it, we're getting everything out. And that might be why I don't quite have the employee scales ready for you.
That's fine.
Can I ask Councilman Albitri, you mentioned 70,000 for specific. What was that?
You quoted, I wish I had that back, it's on my
The
head.
Gallagher's.
It was something Gallagher ID, something.
Yeah.
It was
Oh, that-
formally something, and it was $70,000 for that specific one, so.
No, I think that was a general. There are two. It is so specialized that there wasn't somebody in North Dakota that actually does it. And so the one that I had with my searching and from what was utilized by neighboring cities was that organization out of Minnesota. It wasn't somebody that I had looked for to do it. I have not documented or had anybody tell me a specific amount. What I did say is that we could be looking at $50,000, 70,000, whatever. I don't know what that number is going to be. But if another city pays $200,000 for 400 employees, is the likelihood that Lincoln with a dozen employees would be less money than that. So I don't know what that dollar amount is, because that hasn't been looked at.
I guess my guidance would be is we do it in-house. I don't love deferring city employees benefits and raises and whatnot to take those dollars out of house. So if I had to say, I would be in-house only.
And to be the devil's advocate is an outsider wouldn't have any qualms, right? Like no ties whatsoever. They're just literally giving you a basis of the title.
Like just for the sake of saying, I mean, this is something that certainly as a council, we did address and we did vote on and make a decision about. Not that we can't change our mind, but you know, we did vote on this.
Just to ask, were these the numbers that were agreed upon when everybody met independently prior to the council meeting, or did the council meeting present different numbers?
I think there may have been a couple adjustments on the numbers at the individual meetings, but they were relatively in line with what both presented.
They were completely in line with,
Yeah, it was the low end.
it was at the low end of
It was
the small cities.
the low end.
Of the small cities.
Was, seemed palatable.
Mhm.
So, unless anyone else has something to add, we can continue on to, finance.
Mayor Council in front of you should have the June payables. And then if you looked over them, I need them for them to be approved.
A mower tire is seriously almost $600.
Yeah.
That's strange. Wow, to me. I make a motion to approve the June payables.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Davis,
I'll second.
second by Councilman Berenstein. One in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We give roll call, please.
Artavia,
Yes.
Grayson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
I'll be true.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any new business? For the council?
I got tired of all my.
If not, we will move on to item F, our executive session. Pursuant to North Dakota Century Code, this is for city administrator updates regarding pending complaints and legal risks. Right, and we was performing the own internal investigation or retaining third party neutral for the department of investigation. May I have open to enter executive session?
Everybody gets to go. I make a motion to enter in executive session.
We have a first by Councilwoman Davis. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
We have a second by Councilwoman Tavia. All in favor, oh, sorry. There's a motion and a second to enter into executive session. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote.
Artavia,
Yes.
Grayson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
I'll be true.
Yes.
And the motion passes. Council will now move into executive session. Members of the public and all unauthorized individuals are in the room at this time. We anticipate adjourning the executive session and reconvening the open portion of the meeting at approximately, well, it is, we will enter in at 8:39.
I know that clock gives me up, I don't understand why it keeps looking like that.
8:40. Approximately half hour.
20 minutes.
20
Not,
minutes.
not even, because I'm going to read something, not
Oh,
going
okay.
to expand on anything.
I'll ask for a motion to exit executive session.
Make a motion to exit executive session at 6:18. Well, that said 6:18, it's totally not 6:18, it's 9:01.
We have a first by Councilwoman Davis. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Tree. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes will show that the executive session has adjourned at 9 o'clock. The meeting is now back in open session. No formal action was taken. We will now resume the regular agenda.
Green. Which that,
20 minutes.
that clock is extremely flat.
You said 20 minutes, we did get, I'll be bang on 20 minutes.
So Administrator Ani, is there anything that you need from council?
No. I would like to request a meeting when it's Amanda Davis after the meeting.
And I know we've talked a little bit about HR. Is there someone in your office that you think would be a good candidate to get maybe a certification, a SHRM certification
For HR?
for HR?
Yes, we have an employee that has 12 years of HR experience.
Is she certified?
No, we talked about the training piece of it. It would take less than a month from DSU. But she's not willing to pay, it's, I think, $3,000 to get the certification. So I haven't wrapped my head around it, if that's what we want to do.
And having nothing else before us, we will adjourn at 9:02.
Slide the clocks and off.
It's on military line.
No problem.